Welcome, dungeon hackers. Are you looking for a way to add immediate tension and danger to your D&D adventure? Do you want to challenge your players in ways they've never seen before, pushing their skills and their very morality to the limit? Then you need to master the art of storms in Dungeons & Dragons. Storms are a great way to add atmosphere to your adventures. Storms of many different kinds are things that your players are familiar with. Most of us, if not all of us, have been in major storms before, and we know how tense they can be. And players will immediately understand that it's not just monsters that are dangerous in Dungeons & Dragons. The storm itself poses a great danger. It forces the players to make unique and difficult choices, as they can't just hack and slash their way through a storm. It offers a fresh dynamic to exploration, combat, and social encounters. And so today we're going to take a look at how storms can affect the different pillars of play. We'll look at some specific encounters and challenges, some adventure hooks and moral dilemmas, but first we're going to take a look at the different types of storms. Remember that a storm isn't just rain. That may be the kind of storm that we're most familiar with and the first thing that we think of when we say storms. And we will go ahead and start there by taking a look at the classic thunderstorm. Not only is it just rain and wind, but also lightning strikes and booming thunder. You could also have blizzards and snowstorms that bring extreme cold, reduced visibility, difficult terrain, and risks of exhaustion. Sandstorms, if you're in a desert area, have blinding grit, reducing visibility, creating choking hazards and shifting difficult terrain. There's even a potential for damage from the sand blowing. Hurricanes and typhoons can be especially dangerous for sea adventures, even in coastal encounters. Massive waves and high winds can cause ship damage and cause the party to be blown off course. And of course, this isn't a real-world simulator. This is Dungeons & Dragons, so it could be a magical storm of some type. Maybe there's arcane lightning or strange phenomena that appear. Reality could be warped or even an infestation of elementals. Variations on some of these, like acid rain or hailstorms, can bring in direct damage as well as equipment degradation. Even something as simple as fog or mist can lower visibility, causing disorientation to the party and making it more difficult to do the things that they do every day. So how exactly does this affect some of the different pillars of play? Well, first, in exploration, the reduced visibility that could be caused by a lot of these different storms can grant heavy obscurement and cause disadvantage on perception checks and knowledge checks that revolve around being able to see something. It can create difficult terrain with mudslides and snowdrifts and even just slippery surfaces, causing characters to need to make dexterity saving throws to avoid falling prone. It can cause navigation challenges, getting lost, maybe even causing your map to become useless. If you can't see any of the landmarks, then you don't know when you're supposed to turn on your trek. This puts a much higher reliance on survival skills that may not be something players use very often. I know a lot of games don't use resource management as much as we probably should, but having to keep your torches lit in the storm, trying to find shelter, maintaining warmth and dryness as your clothes become wet, all of these things can make it even more challenging. The storm could cause new obstacles, fallen trees or washed out paths. Even flash floods and unstable cliffs can be caused by these storms, making exploration even more difficult. In combat, ranged attacks may have disadvantage due to wind, rain, and snow, and movement may be impaired. Difficult terrain, slippery surfaces, or even being blown around by strong gusts of wind can cause players to have difficulty moving around the battlefield. Visibility in combat means that enemies may appear suddenly out of nowhere or even disappear into the gloom. There's always chances for environmental damage like lightning strikes and hail or even falling debris. It's possible that you could use these to your advantage. If you could somehow predict where the debris may fall, you could maneuver your enemies into that location. With this limited visibility, it could help your rogue gain advantage for sneak attacks. It may be more challenging for spellcasters to concentrate on spells due to the storm, and you might consider having them make concentration checks to keep their spells going during a combat encounter that happens during a storm. In social encounters, the storm may force friendly NPCs or enemies into small, tight proximity. This can lead to a lot of role-playing and bonding between friendly NPCs and the creation of new archenemies when you're forced into a small room with a bunch of people that don't like each other. And during a noisy storm, communication may be difficult, as it may be hard to hear over the driving rain and wind and the thunder. This miscommunication could lead to all sorts of issues when an NPC thinks that you said one thing but you actually said another. So let's take a look at a few specific encounters and challenges that you may want to include in your storm adventure. One of the first things that I came up with was a collapsing structure. Perhaps a building that the party is sheltering in is starting to fall apart. This could lead to an exciting skill challenge where they use athletics to brace beams, dexterity to dodge falling debris, arcana or nature checks to understand the structural integrity of the building. Perhaps it's a desperate rescue. An NPC or a group of commoners are trapped or in danger due to the storm. Maybe a child gets swept away by a flash flood, or a family is trapped in a burning building struck by lightning. For adventures at sea, there's always the possibility of being swept overboard in a storm. Either a party member or even important cargo could be swept off the ship. This might lead to a skill challenge to rescue them or recover the cargo, navigate the waves, and avoid being pulled under. As far as creature encounters, you might find storm or air elementals drawn to the chaotic energy. Maybe there's monsters seeking shelter, beasts or even humanoids driven out of their normal area seeking shelter where the party is already sheltering. Or maybe the party seeks shelter in a shallow cave along a cliffside only to discover it's already filled with cave bears. Some predators that maybe are less concerned about the weather might take advantage of the reduced visibility and the terror that the normal populace is having to attack with ambush tactics, knowing that while they don't have an issue with the storm, whoever they are stalking might. If it's a magical storm of some type, it might awaken restless spirits or cause strange fey creatures to appear. The party could get disoriented and might navigate through dangerous terrain or monster-infested areas. Maybe the party hears something calling out in the storm, drawing the party towards it, a lost traveler, or maybe into a monster's lair. Try having bolts of lightning hitting nearby. Even if it doesn't hit a member of the party, it could drive other animals towards them, or knock down trees and other debris, although it may also strike the NPCs, causing damage as well. And of course, depending on the terrain, you may have flash floods or mudslides. These are dynamic terrain changes that could force quick thinking and movement on the part of the party. So let's take a look at a couple adventure hooks and plot twists ideas. The first one might be the urgent delivery. The party must get a crucial item or message through the storm to some location. Perhaps one of the party members' families has been pardoned by the king, but the execution is in just 12 hours and they have to travel through the storm to get to the next town to save the family member. They could be seeking shelter. They're trying to reach a specific safe haven, but the storm keeps throwing obstacles in their way. The adventure could take place in the calm before the storm. Maybe the storm itself isn't the adventure, but preparing for it is. Making sure everybody in town is in a safe place, making sure that all these structures are secured so that nothing bad can happen. All the while, the thunder and lightning of the storm is off in the distance, and the wind blowing the storm right into the party. Just as the adventure might take place before the storm, the adventure could also take place after the storm. After the storm goes through, the aftermath may be a semi-destroyed town that the party has to try to help, rescue people from collapsed buildings, find children that were swept off in the storm surge, stop the bickering between people that are angry that somebody's house is fine while their house is destroyed. Maybe ships were stranded in the storm, or perhaps ruins were uncovered once the storm washed away the beachside. You could also run it as a chase encounter. Similar to the urgent delivery, this is an adventure that takes place trying to keep ahead of the storm the whole time. Maybe it's a chase adventure where The storm slows down the party enough for whoever's pursuing them to catch up, or maybe the other way around, and it helps the party catch up to whoever they are pursuing. It's also a way to create some real moral dilemmas for the party. The nature of the storm causing incidents all throughout town, all at the same time, forces the players to decide who they're going to help. Do they go help the merchant get his wagon inside to save his wares, hoping that he will give them a discount in the future? Or do they save the orphanage that may not be able to reward them at all in the future, but maybe is something that their characters are likely to do to save the children? Maybe the king's caravan is stuck in the mud and they have to help get it into the castle. Whoever they choose to help, the people that were neglected may hold it against them and could cause issues further into the campaign. Did you help the king? Well, the merchant doesn't have anything useful to sell to you. Did you help the orphanage? Well, the king certainly is going to act more favorably for the other adventuring party and not yours, because they helped him and you left him in the mud. The nature of the storm forces players to make decisions on what to do and when to do it. It automatically puts a time constraint on the adventure, and that's something that is important to have in a lot of different adventures. So here's some tips on things to do when you're running a storm campaign to really help sell the story and set the mood. Describe with all the senses. What do they see, hear, feel, smell? Describe all these things like blinding rain and howling wind and cold, wet feet or the smell of the ozone. But don't overdo it. Use effects strategically. Not every round needs a new negative modifier. Vary the intensity. A storm can start as a light drizzle and build up to a raging tempest. This could mean that if they decide to help the king when it's a light drizzle, it'll be much easier to get him out of the mud. But if they wait until it's a raging tempest, then they're going to have a much more difficult time. Make sure you give players choices. How do they react to the storm? Do they seek shelter? Do they try to push through? What kinds of spells and abilities might they use? And don't forget to use existing mechanics within the game. Exhaustion and difficult terrain and even the vision rules are there for a reason. Consider using a skill challenge. For a complex storm scenario like navigating a ship through a hurricane, a skill challenge can be even more dynamic than turn-by-turn combat. I have a video discussing skill challenges linked up above. Remember to balance the threat with the fun. Make it challenging, but not unfairly punishing. Give opportunities for success and heroic moments. And don't forget sound design. It's easy to play videos on YouTube or other places that use ambient storm sounds and thunder effects and things like that. So tell me about some storm adventures you may have made in the past, or what you might be excited to use that you've learned from this video. Like and subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and remember to come back for future videos as well. And until then, keep on hacking the dungeon.